The following podcast is an RMG Media production.
It's time we go beyond the handshake. It's time we deepen business relationships and take it to the next level of cultivating and building relationships past that business card exchange and beyond the initial handshake. Welcome to Beyond the Handshake, where we will take a deep dive into getting to know businesses and business owners, why they do what they do in business, what drives them to success, why they work so hard, what they struggle with, what they succeed in, and tips they have for other businesses to learn from their experiences. I am Lucy Miller, founder and CEO of Women Connect. Let's go beyond the handshake. All right. I am so excited to have Jennifer Ghanem on today with Row Title. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me. I really am flattered.
I remember when I first met you, I was like, this lady's about to whip us into shape. She came to my Brain Trust Vault and we had a very special session on setting big strategic goals and the planning there. So I'm excited to dive into that some too with you.
Thank you for having me. And I really was so happy that you guys found that workshop so impactful.
So valuable, so impactful. I feel like when I read that book, the 10X is easier than 2X. We're going to talk about it, I know. But I do feel like it transformed some decisions I made this year.
Yes.
And it's so excited about it.
Absolutely. That's its point. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
It changes the game.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let's talk about your business first. So Row Title. So you are a title attorney, and tell us, to the person who might not know exactly what that means, what you do and what makes your company so special.
So whenever you're buying or selling a piece of real estate, whether it be residential or commercial, you need a closing company in order to draft the deeds, take the money in for as far as the escrow is concerned, distribute everything, get the documents recorded, which is the pivotal part. So there's a lot of legal pivotal part. There's a lot of legal things that have to take place and a lot of money that has to be transferred from person to person. And there is an insurance policy that also has to be issued in addition to all of those things.
Okay.
And so my company is the facilitator for a real estate transaction. So whenever somebody's buying or selling real estate, we take the money in, we prepare the deeds, we can prepare loan documents. We get everybody as smoothly over the finish line as we possibly can to get it closed and the transaction finished.
And in that is like most of the time the largest transaction people ever make is buying and selling a home.
That's right.
And so I know from my real estate experience how important it is to have a title attorney that you trust and that process is smooth and good. Walk us through how you help make that happen for your clients.
I think that people don't really understand all of the steps that happen between when a contract comes in and when a transaction is finished. There must be 85 steps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the very least. But my job is to make you think that you only have 3. Right.
Of that.
Yeah. So that's
steps.
That's right. My job is like, send me the contract, show up at closing if you'd like to. If you don't want to, we'll take care of the entire thing and we'll get it handled. Your client will be happy and we'll get this thing over the finish line. So I think really that's where the magic happens, whereas I make everyone think that there's only 3 steps, when really there is an entire transaction going on behind it. And there's $10 million there can be. As far as, now we're, real estate in Davidson and Williamson County is not cheap.
No, it's not.
And so transacting properties that are millions of dollars is not uncommon any longer.
Wow. So when you started Row Title, talk to me about why you started your own versus just working for another larger law firm.
So I started out my legal career in litigation. I thought that I wanted to be a lawyer in a courtroom, and that's what I did. And I've had federal trials and I've had state trials. And then I just realized as it sort of evolved that I was really tired. And I was just fighting with people all the time. Every phone call was an argument. Every time you walk into a courtroom, you're stating a case, which is fun for a while, and then you're sitting there with a client at midnight and you're thinking, man, this just doesn't feel sustainable, especially for somebody who did have dreams of starting a family. A young family is not a mom who's at the office at midnight. So eventually I started looking at the real estate department and seeing how happy they were in the firm. And then I realized that they were just getting all of their bills paid because they got paid at the closing table. And so I went to Manhattan. I practiced law in a real estate company up there. And when I came back to my firm in Nashville, I told them I want to work in the real estate group.
Yeah,
They look a lot. Yeah, I want to switch. They look a lot happier than I looked. And they said, okay. And so one of the real estate attorneys took me under their wing and trained me on real estate facilitation and closing. And he did a really wonderful job with that. So when I started my own firm, I then decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and start my own title company as well. So me and 6 partners at the time broke off of the bigger firm.
Okay.
We started the other law firm. And then I started my own company, which is the title company. And that was about 13 years ago.
So that must have been a big, scary step.
Terrifying.
To do your own thing.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Especially because I'd never been taught on how to run a title company. It was just...
Yeah. Like, you know how to do it, but then also running it.
Running it.
Right.
You know, and the software that you need to buy and the escrow accounts that you need and, you know, all the little details. I never really had anybody showing me how to do that. So I sort of had to figure that out on my own, which was a blessing and a curse.
Right.
Every time. Right.
Well, that's so true of so many businesses. Like, I know even personally, it's hard to know how to do something, especially as you're getting started. You're learning about things you didn't even know you need to learn about.
Yeah. And you're, picking a name out of thin air and you're like, well, sure, that sounds good. And then, a few years later, you're like, I don't know that was the best idea, but now you're too far down the line, So
you're stuck with it.
You're stuck with it. There's just a lot. And, it's interesting because my parents were entrepreneurs. They started their own businesses and they've had to clear the same hurdles as well, which is like, well, this sounds like a good name. And then 10 years later, everybody's using that name. And they're like, well, that probably wasn't the best idea. So figuring it out is a very intimidating process.
Absolutely. So I've heard you talk about your dad, that he encouraged you to start your business. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So my dad and my mom are both currently still entrepreneurs. My mom runs her own restaurant and she's been in the Nashville area for like 40 years now.
What's the restaurant?
It's called Kebab Gyros.
Okay.
I know.
I did not know that was your mom.
That's my mom.
Okay.
Yep. So,
shout out to mom.
Absolutely. She's also a sounding board for me. My mom is like the very reasonable, practical entrepreneur. And my dad is like the daring, like all gas, no brakes, put it all out there, like just do it. And I'm like, but I'm scared. He's like, it doesn't matter. Do it anyway. I'm like, okay, So between the two of them, they've both been able to really strike a nice balance between like be fearless, but also be strategic.
Absolutely. I love my parents. I'm sure will listen to this. They listen to all my things, but so I have to make sure I talk about it. But my parents have been huge supporters of mine too. And I feel so blessed that, their support means the world. And my mom wasn't necessarily an entrepreneur, but what's in me from her is just the talking to lots of people and the connector in me. My dad with the entrepreneurial spirit of, going for it. Yeah. And working really hard.
Yeah. And being able to call them and say, I had a bad day.
Yeah. Yes.
And for them to be able to say, that's okay. You're going to have bad days.
Yeah. And it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. Because there have been times where I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I can't take it anymore. It's okay. And my parents we're Lebanese. So I was born overseas. So they tell me in Arabic, take your time, take a deep breath. Tomorrow's going to be better. So
that's a good mantra.
It's always very sound advice.
Yeah. So we met, and I referenced it earlier, but through Brain Trust and Sherry through EO. And she encouraged you to come talk to my vault because we were reading the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. And we were coming into the year with wanting to set big goals and thinking through the strategy behind that. So I want to talk about that, but I want to hear how you've done that in your business. When can you think of times where you were like, that's a scary goal. Can't even believe I said I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that.
Sure. Well, before putting your vault through the workshop, I had to create the workshop. And so I had to put myself through the workshop. And we had to do it for like 3 days. And now at the same time as I've put the workshop on for a couple of different groups, I'm still going through the workshop in my head, because I had my goal for whenever I wanted to sell my business for $10 million in 10 years. That was my original 10X goal. how do I get there? What am I going to do? Like, what really is the focus here? So I did that the first time, 12 months ago. And then every time I put the workshop on again, I mean, I'm sitting there thinking in my head, and, those workshops are good for me because they give me ideas. I mean, the crowds are amazing and how engaged they are and the numbers that they're throwing out there and the dreams that they're throwing out there.
It's so cool to hear.
It's awesome. And it's really inspiring. So, the workshop isn't just good for me to put on. It's good for me to hear it as well.
I love that.
But the first one was sort of like, when I kind of threw it against the wall and saw, I'm going to throw this against the wall and see what sticks. And so I just threw out my crazy goal, and then it turned into something. And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, so this works, and I know that it works. So that means that what I need to do is do it again. You just keep doing it over and over and over again. And it's really exciting.
So you think like annually revisiting that big goal or more often, or?
No, I think annually is good because it is an impossible goal. It's a stretch goal.
You're not going to maybe meet it in that 12 months.
It's highly possible you might not meet it in the 12 months, but as long as you keep it, as long as you're making big strides towards it, then it's okay for it to take a little bit longer because it's a really big goal, right?
It is a big goal.
So
I was just talking with someone on a previous episode about just the delayed gratification. And as a business owner, it takes being comfortable with that you've got to keep being consistent and working hard and working towards those goals, knowing you may not reach them tomorrow or next month or even this year, but that you will get there.
You will get there. But the strides that you make when you're doing the 10X goal setting are so different than what you did before that it's really inspiring. And so for me, it's easier to actually try and work towards a 10X goal. Working towards a 2X goal is a little bit difficult because...
So let's back it up. So talk about the process there. So I've read the book, but the setting the unattainable goal pushes you further.
It pushes you to think differently.
Right. Not doing the same thing to get there because you're not going to be able to get there doing your same things.
That's right. So, we're trained in this like 2X goal mindset, right? So we're trained in the like, I want to lose 5 pounds and I want to get 3 more clients by the end of the year. Like those are 2X goals and they're great goals. I'm not telling you not to do them. Those are also part of the process. But whenever you're setting a big 10X goal, you are taking way different steps to get to that 10X goal because you're having to ask yourself a different question. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So I can't give away the farm because, we're gonna talk about it during the conference and we're gonna kind of go through the process of how to 10X goal set and what that looks like for different people because you can do it in entrepreneurial settings or non-entrepreneurial settings. It sort of applies to everybody, but it's just being able to wrap your brain around it. And then when you have your brain wrapped around it, you kind of have this light bulb moment where you go, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I remember yours. I remember I was looking at you across the table and you were staring down at your piece of paper and you started wringing your hands like this. And I was like, something's going on up there. Yeah. And look where you are now.
Yeah. Big goals. Well, so what do you feel like holds people back the most from setting that goal? Because I know inside what I would say is that it's almost the embarrassed to say it because it seems so crazy that you would be able to do that. And what is that? Like, that's a terrible thought.
It is a terrible thought.
That's terrible.
It's a terrible
thought about myself.
That's right. It's a terrible way to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a couple of things going on. The first thing is I don't think that we're taught to 10X goal set, right? That's not something like you and I have already talked about.
Yeah.
We weren't taught how to be an entrepreneur. It was like, I want to start my own business. Like, good luck.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, also the people that I love to make a list and check things off. So like if you can set goals that you can get and check off and you feel good, it's like simple low-hanging fruit wins.
Yeah.
When in reality, that's not getting you that far.
Right. I'm going to meal prep this week. All right. What happens the next 7 days? Do you see what I'm saying? So, and those are wonderful goals. They move the needle forward a little bit. But when you're taught how to 10X goal set and then you're taught how to think about it, that sort of shifts your perspective.
Mindset.
That's right. It shifts your perspective and you have to, something happens where your brain realizes that the small steps are not going to get you to where you need to be. So you just start taking bigger and different steps.
What's a good example? Can you think of some good examples?
I
think of some from the book.
Oh, some from the book. Well, I mean, so, in the real estate world, he was talking about an example from the book, whereas there was a real estate agent and she was trying to grow a book of business, but she was dealing with every contract. She's dealing with every question. She's fielding all of the things that take up all of her time. Text messages, phone calls. Real estate agents work at night and on weekends. There is no peace at all.
Especially if you're handling it all, if you're not having someone help you.
That's right.
That's
and
where it's
so what he was talking about is how that was taking, Benjamin Hardy the story was that was taking 80% of her time. And so what she actually needed to do was to stop doing that, give that to somebody else and let her focus on achieving her 10X goal of selling $20 million in 1 year. And she's not going to get to selling $20 million because you can't originate when you're down in the weeds, checking boxes on a contract on the weekend. You need to be in rooms. You need to be networking. You need to be meeting with high net worth individuals. You need to be meeting with that's where you need to be spending your time. Right. And so the 2X goal is I want to get 4 real estate transactions under my belt this year.
Right.
The 10X goal is I want to do $20 million. Where am I going to spend my time?
One of the big things that I feel like I took away from the thought is that just because we've been doing something doesn't mean we have to keep doing it that way.
Right.
This is time to blow things up and do it differently. Hire somebody to help with these things so that I can focus here. And we did that. So yeah, it's a real, I love the thought of the big goal planning. And
did you make some changes after the workshop?
Yes, we've made lots of changes.
Yeah.
So I've got an administrative assistant that came on board, I think maybe in March of this year. And all the things that I still had my hand in, which was really holding us back because it's not my forte. And it was a time saver to have somebody help me with that.
Yeah.
And then thinking about the expansion effort, it allows me to, put more focus and time on that and look at how we still got a long way to go, but I'm excited to revisit, that goal in January and probably set a bigger one.
There you go.
It's cool.
Love that.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe I just said that. Yes.
You're like, we're going global.
Global. Oh my goodness. You can't write my goals for me.
My team says that about me.
I know, right?
They're like, you stop it. I'm like,
stop it.
It's not that hard.
No big deal. No big deal. Well, so let's talk about your team. What does the makeup of your firm look like, and how do you manage that? And how has your role changed as you've grown?
Well, because I didn't really have anybody training me, I never really could understand the concept of, don't work in the business, work on the business. And so it probably took me every bit of 9 years to figure out what working on the business is like versus working in the business, which is sort of where I was. But as of right now, I've got everything delegated to whoever it needs to be delegated to.
Wonderful.
I've got 2 client managers, which I think is really critical in the way that we structured the company. I rolled out a restructure at the beginning of the year, which, always you get a little bit of pushback on it, hemming and hawing, but that's not what I've done. I'm like, I promise you it's going to be better. And I just had an annual review with one of the team members yesterday where she was like, I like this so much better. And I said, I'm so glad to hear that. Well, because everyone now has one point of contact. The clients have one point of contact. They always know who to call. They always know who to text. They always know what question to ask this particular person. And then the client managers understand when they need my legal brain in something.
Love it.
And then, those people have so much work on their plate that they need people underneath them. So everybody's got support all along the way. And the clients have one point of contact. And the client managers actually have some dominion and, a sense of personal pride in their book of business, which is really nice.
That is so nice.
They love it. They love it.
Well, people that feel appreciated and are, have that ownership, they work harder and it's a great all around thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a sense of personal pride in being able to say, my client.
My client.
That's my client.
Right.
And I want that for them because I think that'll make their job better. They'll have more fun.
Absolutely. So your role then, you do probably a lot of connecting, I'll call it that, versus networking. You're meeting and greeting with a lot of different people. Who is an ideal contact for you or client? Obviously the person buying or selling, but You have great relationships with real estate agents and others.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always the real estate agents. Those are my ideal clients. Those are who is comprised of our book of business at the title company. We also represent a lot of real estate developers, some condo developers. We did a car dealership development last year. That one was fun. It was a luxury car dealership development. So, there is a residential component and a commercial component. So the clients are the real estate agents, the developers.
Bringing you the business, yeah.
Exactly. But honestly, and just to answer the question a different way, my ideal client is someone who understands that real estate is very emotional and they understand how to keep an even keel.
Yes. So
even keel. We're going to get this over the finish line, and they trust me. So it's just,
trust is such a huge factor. Size of the transaction, plus it's complicated and the trust factor has to be there because there's so much you're handling to get it over that finish line for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like I said before, my job is to not let you see that there's so many steps because you guys have enough, real estate agents have enough to deal with. But
it's a lot.
The fact that they understand that there are 85 different steps in between contract and closing, and they say, she's got it. Don't worry about it. Her and her team have it. That's really just a perfect match made in heaven for everybody, I think. And the client. It's better for their clients, the buyers and the sellers. So,
the stress levels, they're wrapped up in the move process and all the other things that are hard about selling or buying a house.
Lending.
Yeah, lending side, all the questions.
Process is very difficult.
Yes.
And they're being peppered with a million questions on that side.
Always at the end, too.
Always at the end.
Why did you ask me this already?
Return.
2 months ago, you should ask me for that. Oh, my goodness. Love it. Well, so from a management standpoint, what would you say is your style as a leader?
So I really do like to empower them to make their own decisions. My management style is do not get me involved on anything that does not need my brain power. It takes up my time and I need to be able to focus on something else, which is my 10X goal.
Yes.
See how I brought that all around?
I love it. Absolutely.
So, if it needs my brain power, which is a legal question most of the time, because I am a lawyer by trade, then they understand to get me involved. But everything else, they've all been trained very thoroughly and they've been with me for a long time. That's another thing is we don't have a lot of turnover.
That's great.
It really is nice. And I think that for a business owner is a sign that you're doing a pretty good job.
Definitely.
Not a lot of people can say that, Lucy, so if you've got that as well, pat yourself on the back for it.
I know. I was thinking about as we, introduce the chapter leaders for Women Connect at Live, we've got some that are just have been with me for years and years. And it's because they love it and they're in a place where they're able to make an impact and help make connections. And it's a really easy fit for them. So I think that's also important is when someone's really aligned with the role that they're in within your company and then you're supporting them in the right way. It's just an all around good fit.
That's really well said.
Yeah.
Really well said. It is.
Brilliant. Well, so what does your systems look like there? Like, how do you all communicate well to keep the processes flowing right? I just love to ask, is there a system like, do you use Slack or anything like that? Or is it just lots of emails?
No. Emails slow everybody down.
Yeah.
So emails is a way that they understand that we're communicating with the outside world.
Okay.
Our internal communications are usually within Google Chat.
Google Chat.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about maybe switching to that.
They use Google Chat because they use Gmail.
Okay.
For their communications. And so they're constantly in Google Chat. And not all of my employees are in the office. I have some remote people. I have some overseas. So Google Chat is absolutely perfect so that they can constantly stay in communication.
That's great.
Yeah. We already get 75 emails a day each on an easy day.
Yeah.
So they understand that if they were also sending each other emails, they'd never get their work done. They'd never get through their
caught up in who responded where.
That's right.
The BCCs and all that.
Yeah. So they just use Google Chat.
Okay.
It's really easy for them.
I love learning what people use for their internal communication just because we have a large team and Slack has been something that we've used for communication, but Slack is a very expensive app, if you will, to use. And I feel like there's a smarter, more cost-effective way. So I'm gonna start looking at that next month.
I think that we did it through the
Google
Workspace,
Suite.
Google
Yeah.
Workspace.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna check it out. So what are hard things in your business? Like, what are things that are always like, I need to get better at that, or that's the hurdle to overcome?
So converting lead into a client is actually very difficult.
Okay.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, right? So like once upon a time, somebody was like, oh, well, your business is a commodity. And I was like, how rude.
Excuse me, I'm very special.
How dare you, you know? Because that's certainly not how I see myself. And that's certainly not how I see my clients. But it's sort of twofold, right? Is that when somebody's got some loyalty to somebody, getting them to convert is actually very difficult. So that's a challenge, and it's an art form, and it takes a long time. The other challenge is we in the real estate industry are subject to things completely outside of our control. We're at the mercy of interest rates. We're at the mercy of inflation. We're at the mercy of an election. Legal. Yeah, that's right. That's the latest and greatest thing on everybody's, lips, all the changes with the compensation structures. So that part is actually very difficult. And it can beat you down sometimes when you've got,
you don't have a lot of control.
You have no control over it at all. So it's just about, figuring out what you need to do within your own business to sort of clear those hurdles when they decide to rear their ugly heads for
a little bit of time.
2 years now?
Yeah, a little bit of time.
I keep saying
rates are coming down.
Next month it's going to get better.
I know, right? Well, so what are things that you do to drive more business to the company? Networking place, like opportunities. What are places that, what do you do to drive that?
I'd put on a lot of education seminars.
Okay.
People need to see the person that they're going to be dealing with. I actually try and bring my team with me so that well, number one, my team, they need to meet everybody. Oftentimes you're sort of behind an email and it's a computer and it's a signature. And then a client can walk in and they've never actually met their client manager face to face. So, I do a lot of education. I'll go to real estate brokerages and put on lunch and learns.
We need to do a Women Connect event, and I'll invite all the realtors in our group.
I would.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Love that.
Let's do it.
Should we workshop them?
We should workshop them. Yeah. Well, that's good. All the realtors are going to have a new 10X goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we've got a few. We don't have too crazy many, but I definitely have got some great real estate contacts we could do that
I'm
with.
sure you've got real estate agents in there, and you've got some probably developers and, real estate professionals.
Absolutely.
So
let's do it.
Yeah, okay. I would love
Event
to.
Planning on the spot. Okay. So your workshops, you're meeting new people. Following up with them.
My real estate agents that I work with actually end up introducing me to a lot of people. So, if they have a client who's a developer, I had one the other day that called me and said, we got selected, our team was selected to be the exclusive listing agent for this particular development over in Davidson County. Yeah. I told the developer that I want to use you guys and you're who I want to close with. She said, can you write us a pitch?
Wonderful.
And I said, absolutely. So I wrote her a pitch. And then last week we got the call that said, we won the pitch. So
congratulations. That's
I was really excited about it. I ran out of the office and I told everybody.
Yeah. Well, so that's a good point. Not in the questions I was planning on asking you, but celebrating wins is so important. What do you do to celebrate, when you've hit those little 2X goals or, it's not small, but a small win?
Well, I think that business owners often are reserved to share the financials and to share the wins with their team. Sherry Deutschman taught me not to do that.
Yeah.
She taught me, be open, be transparent, tell them, don't even give it a second thought. And so, with my leap of faith about 7 years ago, I was like, it's Sherry Deutschman. If she says something, it's probably
we're going to do it. It is true.
Of the company that she managed to build, she clearly has very good business acumen.
Absolutely.
So, and what she did was very impactful, right? put her on a national stage.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, we're just going to do it Sherry Dorsey. So I'm very transparent with everybody.
Okay.
They understand the months that we're profitable and the months that we're not profitable.
Okay.
And whenever we celebrate a win, like we run outside and we tell everybody. And I started this this week because of a seminar that we all went to. And I created like a hype spreadsheet. And I said, every time somebody gives you a compliment, every time somebody says something about you, I want you to be absolutely shameless. Put it on the spreadsheet. Let us look at it. Let us read it. And so I went back into my inbox when people had complimented my team, and I went ahead and started them off on the spreadsheet.
That is such a great idea.
It really made a difference. So I send out this email and they say nothing to me, which is like, I was like, all right, well, I guess hopefully it worked. And what I didn't realize is, I left the office for a second. I come back. Everyone was in one person's office talking about the spreadsheet and like, oh, well, look, you made the spreadsheet, but I didn't make the spreadsheet, but it really worked to like lift up everybody's spirits and it helped them feel like they got noticed.
So important.
It's really important. So yeah, that's how we celebrate wins. It's like, we're going to write it down so we can revisit it when we're having a hard day.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then, there's just some fun things around town that we like to plan.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, there's like a lipstick bar downtown. I'm going to take them all down there. Where all custom colors made. Just cause.
Yes, so important. Well, I think anything you can do to just, even if it's a small win, it's hard to do. It's hard to stop and do because you're just like, okay, what's the next thing? But taking the time to recognize the hard work and the success is important. And I think it does actually fuel you more to get to the next one.
Yeah. And it's strange how impactful an email or a text message to the entire team, how far it gets you.
Yeah, because they're recognized.
All it takes is like, hey, I just wanted to tell so-and-so that, the agent texted me and said this, how appreciative they were that you guys and they walk around with their head a little bit higher.
That's awesome.
And you're proud of your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I'm jumping around. Good times. So we were talking about making connections and how you're driving business. And obviously the relationship building piece is so important. It's not, even though you're processing transactions, it's not transactional, I'm sure, because of who you are with your ideal clients.
Yeah.
And so what do you do to really take the relationship beyond the handshake?
My clients, I'm part of their life. I'm not just part of their business.
Love it.
So I get invited to the birthday parties and I get invited to the cookouts.
So fun.
I had a client who had a baby the other day and like I immediately texted the operations manager and I said, put me on the meal train. Because number one, I knew they had a baby.
Right.
And number two,
because you're in their life.
They need food.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's about really being a part of someone's life. That really is taking out beyond the handshake. Like, is it super simple? No, but I care.
You do care. And that's the secret sauce to you. I feel like the caring and staying in their life.
I want to celebrate them during the really happy times. And then because our jobs can be very difficult, and sometimes I'll tell my team, I'm like, I need a break from, I can't get another phone call or an email. Like I need a second, I need a breath. And so when you're in the business with them, the emotions run really high because something is going to go wrong. It's not picture perfect.
Right.
So the really important part is to be there when they're celebrating the good things in their life. And now you're not just associated with something hard.
Yeah.
It's like, there's my friend.
I love that.
It's the best. It really is the best. I love it when I get invited to a birthday party or bar mitzvah. Like it makes me so happy.
Well, what I love to say, and I do feel like at Women Connect, I'm seeing this happen so much is, great business relationships are formed, but business friendships too. And how amazing is it to also be able to do business with someone you call a friend?
Yeah.
And the friendship's there, but the trust is there. And, the ability to, for me to really share about someone who I know is awesome because I know them well because they're my friend, I'm so much higher because I've gotten to know them, beyond the handshake, beyond just like getting their business card and filing it away.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I like that phrase, a business friendship,
Yeah. I've got more amazing women in my life than I ever thought was possible. And I love it. I feel like the the support, but also being a good resource for people and being able to provide value, if they need something or, you just need to get to know her, if nothing else.
Yeah,
So,
just say hi, ask a question. I have that too. And I really could not. I mean, but the thing is I have organizations like Tennessee Women Connect to thank for that and Brain Trust.
Yeah.
And it has just been the most impactful thing in my entrepreneurial career.
Yeah, same.
It's great.
I love it.
So thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's really important.
Thank you. I love it. I mean, I love bringing people together and women together. And I'm really loving this too. I think, oftentimes it is sometimes hard to take things beyond the handshake because of time constraints. And so, striving to find the time and making the time to do that. But I'm excited about these conversations I'm having with just amazing business women. And we will probably have some businessmen on here at some point.
Sure.
I'm not limiting to just women. And, these real conversations about, how you started your business and why, and what's the hard thing right now? What are the successes, and then what you're doing that someone else could learn from. So thank you for being on. I'm so excited.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. And we'll have to regroup in January for our new 10X goals.
Oh, okay. I get to set your 10X goals?
Yeah. Okay. Sounds so good.
I can let you set mine.
I know, right?
Payback.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on. This was
Thanks
awesome.
so much, Lucy.
Yeah.